Good evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to Millennium TV on Channel 95 on Topstar. We are also live on our Facebook page, Millennium TV Zambia. And do remember that this is Millennium Tonight. We are back for another exciting week of discussion in relation to national matters. And tonight, we'll be looking at the preparedness of the UPND for the 2026 general elections. With just 10 months before we go to the polls in August on the 12th, 2026, a lot of political parties are gearing up in preparation for the 2026 elections, general elections that we'll be having. So we'll get to find out how prepared the UPND is, and also you'll be given a chance to come through live on the program. The number will be shared on your screen. And tonight, I am privileged to host Father Frank Bwalya, who is UPND Presidential Support System Media Director. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. It's a pleasure for me to be here. I'm not too sure. You may be interviewing me for the first time.
Yes, it is for the first time.
And I'm sure it will be memorable.
Indeed. I'm sure it's not the last time. This is the first time.
It won't be the last time, unless God says so.
Indeed. Thank you so much.
So allow me to say hello to everyone that is following this program. We are just coming from the National Day of Prayer, reconciliation, fasting, forgiveness. You can add as many principles there as possible. So we're still as Zambians in that mood of prayer, that mood of making an effort to love one another, to encourage people who are working, doing all kinds of things in government, in the industry, in the agriculture sector, all that value chain. So that working together, united, we can indeed develop our country and make our people happy.
Okay. My name is Ruben Mwanza, and I am your host on the program. So like Mr. Bwalya said, we'll start firstly talking about the importance of the Day of National Prayer and Fasting. Maybe we can start talking about that. How important is that day, especially to a Christian nation like Zambia?
I would answer it from a Catholic perspective in terms of the readings that we had yesterday. Coincidentally, the readings that we had yesterday, which was the 29th Sunday in ordinary time. Coincidentally, in the Catholic Church, it was also Mission Sunday. The first reading coming from the book of Exodus, if I'm not mistaken, where there's this figure that we are given, a picture that is painted of a leader holding their arms, praying for a nation at war. And when they grow weary, their arms grow weary and they are coming down, then the enemy is overcoming. And when this leader raises their hands again in prayer, then the Israelites are overcoming. So those around the leader, I don't want to put a name because that leader could be a church, that leader could be any leader in any setup. So when the people around realize that once our leader lowers their arms as they pray, like the intensity of prayer is not as much, then we are on the receiving end. So what do? They put in place an initiative to support the arms of the leader so that the arms remain up and in prayer. And that's how that war was won. That explains the importance of prayer. The gospel was talking about this unjust judge who neither cared about human beings, he didn't care about God, he didn't even believe in God. But there was this widow that kept coming to him, asking for justice. And then, because she was persistent, this judge says, well, I have no respect for this woman, neither do I have fear of God, and so on. But because she's troubling me, she's becoming a nuisance, why don't I just give her what she wants so that she can, stop pestering me? And then this judge does it. Then the gospel says, that's God speaking now, if this unjust judge would deliver justice to the widow, under those considerations, what would stop me, your God, to come to your aid and listen to your prayers and grant you what you desire? So these, including the second reading actually, but let me emphasize the gospel and the first reading. They emphasize the need for us to pray without ceasing, to to continue praying without ceasing. To continue praying, because you can't say to continue praying without ceasing. To continue praying. So prayer is very important for a nation. We have embraced prayer, and it was wonderful that this year's 18th October was well attended. I did go to the showgrounds. I used to go during the time of PF. I haven't gone to as much since I came back to Australia, but I remember going to one with the president on the Copper Belt. It was at Nkana Stadium. Then the one that was there on Saturday. It was just awesome. It was just awesome. And we do believe that God is with us. God is working with us and helping us even as we navigate very, very difficult challenges. Many of them occasioned by drought, the debt burden that this government inherited in Pianamangwa, Pianamabala, and so on. And we think that the future is bright for Zambia, looking at how God is intervening in our situations. One testimony that every Zambian would not dispute is coming from a situation of a drought where there's desperation, you don't have enough food, the government is under pressure, and then you go to a bumper harvest like never before. And I must say that in this country, in the recent past, there is one expression that was not being used like it was used before. The expression "for the first time." For the first time. We are now using it more since 2021. For the first time, we have 4 million tons bumper harvest of maize.
Let's talk about upholding Christian values as a nation. Would you say as Zambians we're doing enough to uphold the Christian values? If not, what are we supposed to do?
We need to do more. I've never been a pessimist. I never concentrate on the negatives. I concentrate on the positives. And that is the approach of the UPND government. That's the trajectory, to be positive. Because when you are positive, even a situation that looks desperate, a situation that looks like, you should give up, you should surrender, can be turned in something you never imagined.
Right.
Drought to bumper harvest, desperation in the mining sector, to now seeing that it is realistic for us to have 3 million tons of copper per year by 2030. The only thing we are thinking may perhaps hinder that progress is lack of inadequate power. And a lot of people have been talking about the need for more investment. Even as I came to this station, you had on your station, I think that should be the CEO for Stanchart, who was talking about Zambia coming from a debt situation, from a drought situation, and yet being food secure. He was talking about the need for more investment in energy. I listened to Dr. Sixtus Mulenga, who is doing something in Luapula. I know him personally. I worked with him closely. He was a member of the board of directors at Radio Ichengelo. So I have interacted with him, even personally, through various relatives and so on. I listened to him as well. He's an authority, and he was asking ZESCO, indirectly asking government to do more to invest in the energy sector so that the Northern Circuit can have more industrial power. So now, talking about as a country, are we really upholding Christian values? I would say yes, but more needs to be done. Sometimes it's disappointing when, for instance, concentrate on the past. A Christian lives in the present and the future. The present and the future. Right. So if some people didn't come for National Day of Prayers in the past, and then you see them, you don't get annoyed because they are there when they were not there before. You get annoyed that they are there and you are moving together. The prodigal son, the older brother, was full of malice. And when he saw his young brother coming back home and his father very happy to receive him and threw a banquet in honor of the son, he got so annoyed. And he wouldn't come inside into the banquet. And the Gospels give us that figure to show that many people are very hateful, many people are slaves of themselves, many people are not happy when they see people coming to God. Although I must say, and this should be understood clearly, that there are people who may not have come to prayers before 2021. There are people who may have made statements about the National Day of Prayer in response to a political statement. So they made political statements in response to a political statement. They were not invited to a program such as this one and asked how they valued National Day of Prayer or how they valued prayer themselves. One of them, I know I would not mention, one of them is a minister. I know he's Catholic. I know he goes to communion. I know what he thinks about the value of prayer. Therefore, I will not quote him based on a statement he may have made in the heat of the moment in response to an accusation that was clearly politically motivated. So the point I'm trying to make is that sometimes as Christians in this country, we dwell so much about the past. If somebody committed a sin or did something wrong in the past, we want to continue reminding them about that. That's not Christian. When one repents and there are 99 righteous, just one that repents to come back to God, we are told that there's jubilation in heaven. Right. It's a cause to celebrate. So maybe we need to do more, and especially when it comes to social media. I must say that one day I was very disappointed when, recently actually, when the story broke that we'll be exporting beef for the first time to the DRC.
Right.
And somebody commented to say, Nina Mashakwe, Nina Mashakwe. And then that person later on edited the post to say, these animals belong to his people. Of course, every Zambian will know who they were talking about and what that was supposed to mean. Then I looked up, this is the point, I looked up that person on their personal Facebook page. I saw a lot of postings from the church this person goes to. I even saw some devotions. I don't want to mention because people would know which church this person goes to. Some devotions on that page. I even saw pictures of this person praying with their hands raised up to heaven, praying. And then I say, but how can a person who is a Christian, has this level of religious devotion, react in such a manner to the news that Zambia was going to be exporting beef to DRC for the first time? How would they react like that? So maybe the lives we are living as Christians in our churches is totally different from the lives we are living on social media. And that discrepancy is not good, because non-Zambians, including some Zambians who may not be aware, where the background where these things are coming from, they may think that our country is full of hate. Some tourists may be dissuaded to come to Zambia because they think that it's too toxic on social media when you look at what Zambians are saying. And they may be mistaken to think that many Zambians are like this. But we're happy that people from outside the country understand Zambians as loving people, welcoming people. No wonder that phrase, for the first time, we have recorded an unprecedented high number of tourists. Okay. Now, about this sector, this is the beauty about this sector. When you record a high number this year, it speaks volumes about what will happen next year. Because people go for holidays every time. And people ask those who have gone to a certain place about that place and whether they would recommend going to that place. And when people go for a holiday, when they come back, they derive a lot of joy by sharing photos, talking to other people about this place they could have gone to for the first time. Have you been to Zambia? I met this Zambian. I met this leader in Zambia. Have you met or seen the Zambian president? You know, it just happened coincidentally that when we were in Livingstone in this hotel, there was a conference and we almost bumped into him in the corridor, and he's just a pleasant man, you know. So there are a lot of things that we can do as individuals to show that we're Christians and even attract more people to come to Zambia, some of them even to settle. We have a lot of people, including from some countries in East Africa, who have come to Zambia and they love it here. They've learned the languages. When you listen to them, you can't even tell that they are not Zambian. And we welcome them. No xenophobia in this country.
I like the fact that you raised the point to say certain behaviors may stop, tourists to visit the country, which is actually a good thing. And obviously, we need to work on certain behaviors, especially on social media. And going forward, I feel like, slowly people are getting to learn how to address certain matters, especially on social media. But with time, I just hope that Zambia will get to, transform from what we are currently to a better Zambia when it comes to social media usage. Now, let's talk about the preparedness of the UPN. Has the UPND, first of all, let's start from 2021 up until today. Has the UPND delivered on its campaign promises, 2021 campaign promises?
I'm very happy that you have immediately used the word deliver. From preparing for elections next year to delivering. Creating the right impression that the other word for preparing for elections is delivering. So when you deliver, you are preparing for elections. And that said, the UPND started preparing for 2026, for 2031, and beyond. Immediately it was sworn in. Because immediately the party was sworn in, the party started to fulfill the election promises that were made. Started implementing the policies that will bring to fruition the promises that were made to the Zambian people. I'm underscoring that to make everyone agree that fulfilling election promises is a process. It's a process. There are certain promises that may have been time-bound, and therefore the UPND, we should be judged based on that, especially if we have not come back to the people to tell them that the time limit we could have been given has been found to be unrealistic or could not be met because of ABC. In the absence of that, then we should be held accountable in terms of the time we could have attached to a specific promise.
Right.
But there are many promises where no time frame was attached and they have been fulfilled. We can give many examples. Meal allowances, for instance. Meal allowances for students. Not just CBU and UNZA, but 7. I can't remember 1 or 2 of those. All of them now, they are 7. Yes. That was done almost immediately. It was possible to do. Why am I saying immediately it was possible to do? Because sometimes certain promises needed to wait for the next budget to be put in the budget. And therefore, people who immediately said, you promised meal allowances, where are they? May have been justified because they didn't know that certain promises needed to wait for the next budget, the UPND budget, which was coming the following year. There are many promises that were made which have been fulfilled. But it is human nature to concentrate. And I think there's a terminology, there's a concept to explain what I'm just about to say. My brother Sekelechi is very good at issues of project management and is very good with these terminologies. Maybe I'll remember it as we go on. This mentality, the human mentality, to concentrate on that one, it may be the only blemish, the only small difficulty, the only small failure, it could even be a big failure, to concentrate on that and ignore all the good things. And even when we quarrel in our homes, as they say, when trees are close to each other, they always be brushing each other. Even in our homes, when we quarrel with our wives, when you wives quarrel with us, your husbands, sometimes words are used to mean that there's nothing good since we got married, or there's nothing good happening here since you lost your job, there's nothing good happening here since the issue of that girl is surfaced, and things like that, you know. But when the tempers cool down and you are having a good meal, you know, entertaining some friends, then your wife, who could have said the same things only a few days ago, begins to count the blessings. To count the blessings. Then you say to yourself, oh, she was not happy about what happened. Maybe I shouldn't do that again. But, you know, it's part of human nature to concentrate on the negatives.
All right. So what is one negative that you feel, you know, the people of Zambia have concentrated on, you know, overlooking the others that you've achieved as you?
I would give this example, but I must qualify that we are not saying the people shouldn't concentrate on this.
Right.
They should, because it remains a problem.
Right.
The problem of load shedding.
Right.
No one in UPND, starting with the president to the lowest member, and when I say the lowest member, I mean in terms of structure, not in terms of the profile of or the standing of a particular member. We are all equal members of the party with the same entitlements, but of course we have different duties, different rights, because we belong to different structures. The president of the party, President Hakainde Hichilema, belongs to a different structure. As a member of the management committee and the leader of the party, I'm not leader of the party. Right. So I don't expect to have the same duties and rights that he accrues because of these duties. But we are all equal members. So there's no one in the UPND, starting from the president to the lowest ranking party member, including ordinary member, who is saying that the people are not justified in concentrating on this one yet to be fulfilled promise, the issue of inadequate power supply. No one. And the president is clear, the language of the president of late over this matter is very clear, that he is agonizing about lack of power. Not as if to say he's only realizing now. No. He realized this long before, even when he was in the opposition, hence the promise to end load shedding. Load shedding has not ended. I will not speak much about what has caused load shedding, because the experts have been speaking. When the experts speak, such as the CEO for Stand Chart, who was speaking about drought, the worst drought we experienced, people tend to listen more. When President Hakainde Hichilema talks about the worst drought in living memory, people dispute. But when the CEO of Stand Chart talks about this worst drought that we experienced, usually people don't seem to question that. So we feel happy when we see experts repeating what we are saying, or indeed ourselves repeating what they are saying. So people know what has compounded the situation of power deficit. They know that from 1964, when we became independent, to date, the level of investment that we have attracted in power generation has been almost nothing. Almost nothing. The level of investment. And each time we have invested in the past, that has been totally cancelled out. Just last week, maybe on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken, ZESCO announced that they had connected new connections, so new customers, 300,000. Not 300,000 new customers. And the man who was speaking, I can't remember his name, said, let's take this scenario, that each one of those new customers is consuming one kilowatt. By 3,000, we're talking about 300 megawatts. 300 megawatts is the value that Mamba Collieries is bringing on board next year when the expansion project is complete. 300 megawatts. What is ZESCO trying to say? What are the experts trying to say? That the rate at which we are investing in more power generation is not in tandem with the rate at which our population is growing, the demand for power.
Right.
And it's not because more people now want power than before. No, this problem has always been there. The backlog has always been there. I am one of those who paid for power, I think 4 years or 3 years ago. No, even before UPND came into power. But when I came back, made a follow-up. I'm yet to have a pole installed at our place. The last time ZESCO came, they said I didn't buy an armored cable, and they would only bring the cable if I did that. I had to save, to fundraise, to buy an armored cable, which I did. So now ZESCO has to bring a pole. I was told the poles are not yet available. When they're available, then they'll bring a pole and give me power. Right. Because I need more power. So you're also going through the same crisis. So we are all going through the same. And as a person who once served as board chairperson for ZESCO, I fully understand the challenges that ZESCO goes through.
All right. Let's talk about managing the economic crisis. Would you say the UPND government is doing enough to manage the economic crisis, looking at the high cost of living, looking at commodity prices on the market like fuel, like meal and many other commodities, and also job creation? It is one of those economic crises because obviously for you to fight poverty, you need to create employment for the people so that they have purchasing power. So would you say the UPND is managing the economic crisis that Zambia has been facing for some years?
The World Bank would rephrase that question. The IMF would rephrase that question. The man that you were featuring on the program as I have made reference to, I keep forgetting his name, the CEO. Yes. The CEO for Stanchart. Other CEOs, high-flying personalities that we have in this world, talking about the likes of Madam Mizinga, Melu, and others, including Mr. Dodia and so on, and some of those very critical financial commentators, they would rephrase that question. The question would be, what has UPND done to stabilize the economy? In other words, how did UPND respond to the crisis we had so that we can be where we are? Where are we? That is the question. We are at a time when Zambia is going to raise more than 80% of its budget from local sources. That doesn't tell you that you have an economic crisis. We have a power crisis. That is true. And of course, that has a big impact on economic activity. That is true. But when you look at the whole picture, we cannot say, from the economists themselves, I'm not an economist, from the economists themselves, including World Bank, IMF, chambers of commerce that we have around the country and so on, the language is not that. The language is that this country has been stabilized economically and that the future looks bright and that our economy is set to grow by more than 6.5%.
But somebody would argue
now, just a minute. So that is not how an economic crisis looks like. Now, what has the UPND done? What did President Hakainde Hichilema do in order to bring us to where we are with the crisis behind us? Number one, the UPND concentrated on debt restructuring. We were in a crisis. The president liked to describe it as a python around our neck, making it difficult for us to breathe. Members would say we were in a situation where our legs were tied instead of our arms, and therefore it was difficult to move. We had our credit worthiness eroded. We had a challenge in the agriculture sector. That entire value chain was disturbed, compounded by drought, including debt itself. So upon reaching almost 100%, almost. Now, when I say almost 100%, I'm not saying 99.9. What I'm saying is that what we are remaining with is a smaller portion in terms of debt restructuring. And we are now at a stage where this country is not defaulting. Defaulting is synonymous with crisis. Not defaulting, paying, restoring your credit worthiness is synonymous with stability and a bright future. So this country is paying. So when you hear somebody on the media saying that this government is postponing debt and condemning our children and their children to come and pay the money that the previous government borrowed, that is not true.
In actual sense, Father Frank Bwalya, what is the benefit?
By the way, when some people hear Father Frank Bwalya,
okay, let me call you.
They know, just to clarify, they don't know that I'm not coming from a parish house to come to this radio and speaking as a UPND member.
Right.
So I always like to remind them that I'm no longer in active ministry.
True.
People like you, some bishops, of course, many priests, including religious sisters and so on, including people from other churches, they still want to call me Father Bwalya. I don't take offense. I love it because I was ordained according to the order of Melchizedek, but I want to make it clear that I'm no longer in active ministry. I am practicing partisan politics, and because I'm not a clergy, I am not causing any scandal. That's the bottom line.
Okay,
but obviously I'm not causing any scandal.
The title doesn't die, does it?
No, it doesn't die. Exactly. But just to clarify, in case,
okay, let me call you Frank Bwalya.
In case,
for argument's sake, let me call you Frank Bwalya.
It makes me feel younger, and if my wife is following, I think she would know that I would smile at that.
All right, so
as the years are going, we are all running in the morning, and modifying our diet because we want to be more active. We want to be more energetic, give more to our country before we can expire.
Exactly. I was coming to a question to say, you talked about debt restructuring. I just want to, maybe you can make someone who's watching right now understand the benefits of debt restructuring, because some people would argue to say, like you said, some people say you're pushing forward the debt that you're supposed to clear now and pushing it for the future generations to clear it. What is the benefit of debt restructuring to an ordinary Zambian watching the program right now?
What is shameful and in a certain sense ridiculous is for people to try to mock the UPND for boasting, not that they boast, but this is the word that they put, those who criticize us, for boasting that we have achieved debt restructuring. Because it's not cancellation. It's just postponement. It's not full postponement. I can agree if you say partial postponement. So what are the benefits of debt restructuring? The president has articulated these matters very, very well. We encourage Zambians. President Hakainde Hichilema is your president. You voted for him. You voted for him. He's a human being. He's not perfect. He can make mistakes. But those who love President Hakainde Hichilema love him because they see a sincere leader who is working very, very hard to make a difference in this country, to drive the economy forward, to ensure that there is industrialization everywhere in the agriculture sector, in tourism, manufacturing and so on, so that we can create more wealth from the resources that we have, and that these resources can be equitably shared. And that's how come many government departments, ministries and so on, when they are coining themes for different activities and so on, there's this thing that is always, brought on board, included, not leaving anyone behind. National unity and so on. So what are the benefits that the president has been talking about? Because, as a member of the presidential support program or support systems, one of the responsibilities or mandates that we have is to ensure that the people understand who President Hakainde Hichilema is, what he stands for, the values that he espouses, the programs that he has initiated, the achievements and so on, so that they can grow in confidence in the leadership of President HH. And when there's an election such as there would be next year, consider him for another term. That is our mandate. So what has he been saying? What he was saying was that when we defaulted, and with that debt hanging over our heads, we didn't have headroom. What is headroom? From the way he was explaining, headroom is to tie your arms and leave your legs free so that you can go around, look for some food for your children, work, earn a bit of money to even pay back part of that debt that you owe, headroom. And when it comes to more technical terms, and he's very, very educated, very Barikanshiwa, well educated in these matters, then we can talk about these more complicated terms like credit worthiness, because even with the debt that we have, the country may still need to borrow locally and externally. What is important is to borrow responsibly and that you don't default and endanger even the assets that you have, such as ZESCO and so on. When you have credit worthiness, there may be a disaster where this government requires to borrow. It may just happen that something damages a very, very critical bridge in this country. I don't want to mention, because these things, you know, you can speak in general terms. Some disaster, and the government needs really a lot of money to deal with that issue, and the money may not be available locally, so you may need to borrow. I'm just using that as an example. Now, when your credit worthiness is eroded, you have nowhere to go. You are blacklisted, not just in your region, but internationally, because you have defaulted. So the benefits of debt restructuring is that your credit worthiness is restored. Even the rating agencies, now international rating agencies, are rating us highly. We are also projecting ourselves as a responsible country, as people, yes, who borrowed, because those who were there thought that we needed to borrow in the manner we borrowed, but we failed to pay, and that we have not run away from that debt. We are honoring and honoring our responsibility and paying. The other thing in terms of debt restructuring, which is a benefit, is that when ZRA collects money on behalf of you and me and gives it to government, government needs to pay our teachers, need to recruit teachers, need to recruit police officers, need to pay those who are already recruited, needs to put another cancer disease hospital somewhere, complete the one that is coming up in Ndola, and do all these things. The money that remains usually is not enough, or indeed there is no money remaining. When government has honored these financial responsibilities, there is no money left. But you still have a debt to pay. So what do you do?
Right.
You may not borrow to pay when you have defaulted. That's why under this the debt restructuring regime, we have signed some agreements with the IMF who are advancing us some support, some loans for us to grow the capacity to service our loans slowly but surely, while honoring the financial obligations that we have at home. What are these financial obligations? I just mentioned some of them, but I didn't touch on free education. That free education is paid for by government. So when the government doesn't have the money to put into free education because all the money is going into debt servicing, then you have a problem. We were told, and there is no argument about this, that the entire budget for this year, not the one coming, but for this year, would have all of it going to debt restructuring, and would have needed to look for more resources to pay for what was due in 2025 alone. If we had not secured debt restructuring as it is at the moment.
Okay. All right. Let me just remind the viewers, dear viewers, in case you would love to be part of the program, I am hosting Frank Bwalya, who is part of the presidential support system. He's the media director under that system right there. You can call the number that is showing on your screen, and we'll give you a chance to contribute, comment, or ask a question in relation to what we are looking at on the program. The preparedness of the UPND for 2026 general elections is what we are focusing on. So the line is very much open right now. You can call that number and we'll give you a chance to definitely come through and be part of this program right here. Now, Mr. Bwalya, let's briefly talk about the measures that UPND is putting in place to better the living standards of the people in Zambia. There have been complaints of high cost of living, and some NGOs have actually come up with their own findings, and JCTR has actually highlighted to say it takes 11,600 plus.
Are we still at 11, or it was reduced to 10,000 the last time I checked? I think.
No, it is still at 11 actually.
Not 10,900 somewhere there? Okay, okay.
So
but there was a reduction, I think.
There was a reduction
before that.
the previous one.
Yes, yes.
So what is the UPND doing to ensure that the cost of living drops down?
Yeah, since we are looking at this through the prism of the elections next year, I can use this powerful figure from the Gospels, from the Bible, Judgment Day, how it is described.
Right.
That when the Lord comes, He's going to put the goats on the left and the sheep on the right. That is the righteous, and not the righteous on the left. And He would say to those on the left, I was thirsty, you didn't give me water to drink. I was hungry, you didn't give me food. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was sick in hospital, you didn't come to visit me, and so on and so on. And they said to Him, Lord, when did we see you sick, naked, thirsty, a stranger, and we didn't welcome you? And He said, each time you didn't do that to the little of these of my little ones, you didn't do it to me. I'm using that example not literally where, for instance, the sequence runs, but to give that example. And since many Zambians are Christians and they read the Bible, they understand where I'm coming from. And then He would say to those on the right, to say that I was hungry, you gave me food, and so on and so forth, almost the opposite of what He said to those on the left. And they ask the same question, when was that? They answer the same, explained. So in August next year, the voter is going to say to HH, to the UPND government, I was hungry, I didn't have food. You restored my meal allowances. My meal allowance. I was stuck. I was stuck. Didn't know what to do.
Okay, maybe we can just pick up a call before you continue. Let's pick up this one. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you? Kindly speak up, we can barely get you.
I think I've got line.
Oh, okay. This is Millennium TV. You're calling live on TV.
Definitely, yes. I've seen this and I'm actually following you up.
Okay, give us your name and your contribution.
Yes, my name is a common one.
What's your name?
Uncle Steve.
Uncle Steve, please go ahead. I have Frank Bwalya in studio.
Definitely, I've seen my big man.
Yes.
What am I sharing?
Mwapolenba Steve.
Yeah, I'm quiet. Bwalya, I'm speaking directly. Well activated issues, don't send me conquer bueno sana. The way you explain things, and you explain things accordingly. You know, let me just appeal this to my fellow Zambians. Mwadishiba Father Bwalya, today, as we are speaking, abantu bale mwanakwana kani mulimbi, UPND is not working. No, UPND is working. The only challenge which we have, Bwalya yako bati imwe bene na timu yeno, osene kusana amano, ukulondolera abantu, ipinto fulfilling ipinto fulfillaba, even where we are today. Yes, I can borrow the word which came from the Vice President, where she said, whoever ichipute, ngana chifimba, nangu ichipute fuchikala, chila kalipa. But pakuwa timufungi ya peni, mulingilo kuchisukwisi, kunanika ni kumafuta kuli diesel pali shilingi kongole shingi sana mamona millions of dollars, about $600 million plus mamona tonilya kwati where this government, your government epo mwashile sendele vivindu mwasendele apa tapatapa sasa. So explain to people, continue doing that job, explaining to people, and looking forward. Winner na do winner, and it will win 2026. There is no doubt about it. But the only thing which I'm urging you is to educate the people and tell the people, explain to people where we've come from and where we are. Thank you very much. That's my humble contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle Steve, for calling. We appreciate.
Yes, so maybe I can use that. I can finish that example and then even comment on Uncle Steve's intervention, which is very, very, very clear. So the voter will also say that I was struggling. I had animals. I was not growing. You found a market for us in the DRC. I grew soya beans, not last year, but the other year. FRA could not have the money to buy the soya beans that the farmers grew. You went to China, you secured the market for me, a farmer. I had cancer, and I was in Lusaka. My family in Mpulungu. You brought the cancer disease hospital, another cancer disease hospital near to us. Or Tundola, where one of my children works, and one of my grandchildren was recruited and working there, making the burden of my family light. I had no hope that some of my children would get employed, but you revived the mining sector. Shaft 28, Itumba Mine, Mingomba, the super pit in northwestern province. All this huge investment coming into this country. The voter would say, I never imagined that I would grow as a farmer until you started emphasizing the need to have 2 crops in the year through irrigation. Your investment, your initiative to invest in lowering the cost of production. Talking about United Capital Fertilizer. 3,000 employees, that is jobs created. About 1.4 billion to be invested in phase 2 of the urea plant. What is happening at Kafue? The solar plants that are coming up everywhere to respond to our power deficit. But it's not enough. We emphasize as UPND, the president knows, and he has been talking about this, he knows very well that we need to do more. Therefore, the line that we are building between Zambia and Tanzania, so that in future, we can be able to buy power from them and even sell power to them in future. That is being done under this administration. But we want to underscore also as UPND that as we go into the election, we know that elections at this level is not just about election day. We have continuous assessment. So the actual final exam, which is the election in 2026, will account for not 100%. Not 100%.
Because there's continuous assessment.
There's continuous assessment. Those who got partial withdrawal, that may have been the only important thing. That young man who has a skill now, because CDF, through CDF, it was paid for him, that may be enough. So we have that mark under continuous assessment. So we already have some marks in the bag that we know are guaranteed in terms of what we have done. Okay. The big elephant is load shedding. The cost of living is being dealt with. Because in Zambia, when we talk about cost of living, one of the major things that we focus on is ubunga, milimil. We have seen what has happened starting as early as even March this year, the prices of mealie meal going down. Equally, the prices of cooking oil, sugar, and so on going down. But I've seen sugars 2 kg has still come back to 70 in some places, and so on. That was owing to the strengthened kwacha. As a result of some of the positive policies this government has implemented, including tracking our copper exports. And Zambians one day will be told, this good thing you are seeing, this performance of the kwacha you have seen, is because of something you may have missed. That this government has created a company that will be selling the copper that we should have as our share in some of these mines on its own. All these policies are being put in place. Now, we all need to agree that even when a couple has agreed to have a child, the child will not just come, boom, there is the child. Sometimes it's difficult to conceive. Even when you have conceived, the child is not there already. The child has to grow. And the child has to be born.
Okay, so it's a process.
Many of those babies have been born. And we are celebrating them in tourism, in mining, in agriculture. But that baby, we have all been waiting for adequate power, is yet to be born.
Okay.
He has been conceived. When you look at the investment that has gone in this space.
Right.
But again, as I said, allow me to just complete one small point that I left hanging before. Talking about the causes of the power deficit that we have today. It's not just the population growing, but also the economy, the resilience that we are recording in the economy. You see, UPND to a certain extent, we are also victims of our own success. You bring United Capital Fertilizer, which is a positive thing, except for them, they are giving us also 85 megawatts of power. But other companies, you bring them, a lot of jobs, a lot of value addition to the economy and so on, but they'll need more power. What has this government done to make sure that we are not victims of our own success? To ask these companies to also be putting up power plants. Some of them, the nature of the manufacturing they are doing, there is a possibility to also, generate power because of the way technology is in the production of fertilizer. It's possible at the same time, like a spin-off benefit to create or generate power. Right. And the government is emphasizing on that. When you talk about solar on our rooftops, the net metering, this has been done under this government.
All right, let's see if we can pick up more calls. You can call right now. I could see people coming through via calls, but we couldn't pick up because Mr. Bwalya was actually speaking. But you can come through right now and get to air your views, concerns, or rather contributions on the program, and we'll give you a chance to contribute. Let's see if we can pick up this call. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, thank you. Give us your name and where you're calling us from.
James calling from Copper Belt, Frank Bwalya.
Buno ba James.
Frank Bwalya from Ireland, Africa. Ero Frank Bwalya from Hichilema shipya kwe batabena Zambia bale chula. Mwenga mule ya mule onfawino.
Just a minute. Just a minute, ba James. Just a minute, ba James. You have made a very good point. Batabena Zambia bale chula. Just make your point. Yes. Just make your point. There is no need to say Mwenga Muledi Abwino. My mother lives in Kwacha East. You are saying you are calling from Kitwe, lives in Kwacha East. Who tells you that me I get a salary from the UPND and therefore family and wonseta barechula? Who tells you that the president has a budget for all his relatives in the village here in town and therefore is not aware that people are suffering? No. Let us respect one another and let's avoid being personal.
All right. I think we've lost that call, but in case you would love to come
let's
through,
avoid.
like
there's no need.
All right.
You know, I've been a subject of abuse on many platforms because of the malice being motivated by jealousy, where some people think that just by joining UPND, I get a lot of money. And I've been having a lot of requests for money. A lot of requests for money. Because that's what people conclude, which is not true.
All right, let's not go there.
After the elections,
let's not go there, Mr. Bwalya.
After the elections, when we win, maybe I'll be given a job where I can get an allowance or a salary.
Let's not go there, Mr. Bwalya. Let's not go there. Let's concentrate on the national matters that we are looking at. Now, in build-up to 2026, how is the UPND going to ensure that, every opposition political party is free to mobilize? Because some of them have come right on this program to say they're not being given chance to mobilize for the 2026 general elections. How are you going to ensure that there's free and fair play when it comes to mobilization, when it comes to campaigns and everything to do with that, so that everyone feels like they have a level playing field?
Of course, we've had regrettable situations in this country where the opposition were not allowed to campaign during election period, election campaign period. Zambians, when we talk like this, I think what comes to their mind immediately is how President Hakainde Hichilema was stopped from leaving the airport in Chipata. I think could have been in Chipata airport on Mfuwe, I'm not too sure now, but it was all over social media. We saw that happening. We can assure the Zambian people that that will not be the case. How can they be sure? They say in Bemba ichikwanka bachimwena kumampalanya. Let's look at the elections that we have had. They have been very, very peaceful.
The by-elections. The
by-elections, yes, they have been very, very peaceful. We have had some spontaneous, violence, some pockets of violence in some of those by-elections. The police have moved in swiftly, and they have dealt with the culprits, regardless of which political party they belong to. And when they are found to be from UPND, there may have been one incident, I think, where our members were mentioned. The president has made it very clear. The party has made it very, very clear. This is a peaceful political party, united party for national development. Uniting the country, united ourselves, but uniting the country for national development without leaving anyone behind. What we have seen is what will be replicated during the campaign period in 2026. And we do know that opposition leaders, including those from the ruling party, will exercise utmost responsibility to restrain our members, to restrain their members, so that we can maintain that still very good record of peaceful, democratic elections in this country.
All right, let's pick up another call here. I think we lost that one. You can still get to call back, and we'll give you a chance to actually contribute on the program. The number is showing on your screen, and we have another call coming in right now. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, thank you. Give us your name quickly.
James again, that's
people I want to show, unless you're going on. Let's stick, Mr. James.
Frank Bwalya, Fintuaranda, Fiona Film Fika. They longer Marorek Shange Ponacharan but Avena Zambia Varechula. The Moisa Kuno Chingola. Bakateka Varech Taplomisi. Avena Chingole, Mr. Perokevati. Tukisa Tela Mkala Bomba freely. They longer Moisa Kuno Chingola, Vali Pokava, Chilongoma, Turechula, Ravache, Everett Tretium Securation. And I want to Turech Rama sectors, clinic hospitals, the limit. Joe Sama sectors, National, Caleron de Papa Frank, whatever they land that you take over a bomb. Elonga, Tulan, the Quava, UPN, this into Valley. Direto Munwe, Kusume, but you know, Stabaran that you part have a piece of no one ever stop that Javantu. Everybody, Vala and the Shani Paluria John Yondo, we own to our Minekuma Katas, Ushava Mine John Yondo, to a for you, but to this one is one and Dogovat, UPND member, whichever UPND member, Mwalive Kata, and the effort come on a woman to Mwalive Kata, Wakakwana, Mukawale Keraku, each ekyalo takiri bwino direktirwa n'okulanduka basati nga walanda tawalali omutende balasa bakukonke kyalo kya musango shani apa ntufitire tulekyula futi nga twalandali ekimwamba okula kitafureteni kula tukonka nga kutwikata nga kutuma nga tukutupingira ekyalo kya musango shani baye kyekirabonawula ekyalo abantu mwesapota 2026 mwonfiire fe mwaya mwawonawula ekyalo tefe tungalayikala mu kyalo kyesu kya Zambia mwasangire fyo 17 kwacha mwafisha paiseti kwacha mwasangire mufundo balesha 650 under PF mwafisha pali 1-2 bushabuteko bwa musango shanyo so twapapata wa Frank Bwalya muye ba president nga muleba tinana mubalemfo mulebe ati nabonawula ekyalo kyesu kya Zambia tatureba for 2026 fwe balera ndesi twali basapotere twabavotera n'okubavotera kwambira kuli kansela mpaka kuli president nombapanga walanda onsati niwe OPF lete omunwa nkusulu kyalo kya musango shani atotera mukwaye
watotera ba James. Thank you so much.
So ba James balelanda ati nga watulandeko bakwikata nga watulandeko akireta omunwa ensumeko twakibakanya afyo okuba personal. Iri bakireko okuba personal takuli wakyasukapo inisha kyasukapo natubaleka bapwisha nangufyo bakilalanda tefyakine baletira fyonze nafyonaika which is not true bantu nga bekala kuchingola nga bafuma kuchingola ukuya kuchira bombwe musebo usumo wapabuka ubo ba UPND bapangire ukufuma muchingola ukuya kwasumbalesa musebo usuma wapabuka upangire na ba UPND elio ku KCM kuchingola ni ba UPND bachita resolve problem ya KCM ba KCM balebomba. It may not be working at the same level it was or the level that this government desires. We are not yet there, but KCM ilebomba. Ele vibale bati fyonse nafyonaika ngata umufu ya HH ngata umufu ya ubuteko bwa UPND kuti walande fofino kuti fyonse nafyonaika lelo eko bali abaletira ifintu nafishupa but tefyonse fyonaike yo ifyawonaike ifingi ubuteko nabufirungika ichishupire sana icho buteko bulebomberapo cha load shedding.
Okay.
Ero vya kutira kubekata nani walasa mikata nga mwatira ubuteko tabule bomba wino nangu 2026 HS inenshaka muvotere although mulelanda tatuwaka muvotere bengi abaleba atifuta tukwete obwafya natumona ma problems eko yali ubuchusheko buli but natumona fyo ubuteko bule bomba
right.
Ama recruitment na fimbi.
Let's pick up one call and then we can wrap it up. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, thank you.
Good evening, thank you. Give us your name.
This is Pano Mangala, senior citizen.
Mr. Mangala, please go ahead.
Mr. Bwalya, good evening, sir.
Ngo Mwangala, is this the Mwangala I know or is a different one?
That's the one you've known for all these years.
Wonderful. If you still have my number, let's chat one of these days.
Please, let us do so.
Thank you.
I will answer you by way of comparison. And I'm just simply being honest with you. Bwalya, if you listen to what people are saying, in terms of comparison, as the previous caller was saying, when I compare what is happening under your government, the UPND, when I compare it to previous governments that we have had, I do not see any similarities. What I see is something different in your government, more so under the rule of law. It's unbelievable that this country stands like this. Very unbelievable. And I'm saying that it's good that we can come that for interaction like we are doing. Please, deliver correct message when you go back. Tell people the correct things to say. Things are not good for us. These people who are crying day and night, they are not cheating me. It's the truth of the matter. And I would actually advise you to say, the UPND who made such promises, most of which have not been fulfilled, have we been filmed to apologize, to their people. They all you hear a lot of excuses, no, just like you are also explaining there. They're extremely defensive, which is most unfortunate. The situation in which Zambians are living today is something that they've never actually experienced
ever since the independence. Let me just choose to end up there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming through. All right, maybe you can respond to that, and then we can get to wrap it up with one question that I have for you.
Yes, when you don't support President HH, you don't support UPND, and you have chosen not to see anything good, you have chosen not to see anything good, there's nothing we can do about it. But if you are a patriotic Zambian who wants to see the best for this country, we will know you by acknowledging the good things that this government has done. We will know you by genuinely emphasizing on what remains to be done. And we know what remains to be done. So when he says I'm extremely defensive, that is not true. I did not come here to be defensive. To defend what? How do I defend, launching of a project that is going to add a lot of value in the whole agriculture value chain through supply of fertilizer that would help us to reduce the cost of production and eventually lower the price of mealie meal and other similar products in a sustainable way? There's nothing to defend there. If there's anything to defend, according to the way this program has gone, it's the issue of load shedding. But I've not defended anything. I've made it very clear that even the president is agonizing about this. When you are agonizing about something, you are not defending.
You're having headaches over it.
The president has headaches, is spending sleepless nights over this issue.
All right, let's end this way, Mr. Bwalya. Recently, I think should be on the 13th of October, 2025, ECZ launched the mass voter registration. And some complaints have actually come out to say there hasn't been much sensitization. And today I was actually at one of the registration centers, and I asked the registering officers, I don't know what you call them, they actually told me to say they had only registered about 8 people from morning up until 14 hours. Do you agree that there's been less sensitization when it comes to this mass voter registration? And what can we do to, make it better?
You see, running a country is not easy. It's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. I'm constrained to comment too much on this matter because it's not an exercise that is managed by the UPND as a party. It's an exercise that is managed by the government through a body that has been delegated, the Electoral Commission of Zambia. If people feel that there hasn't been enough sensitization, meaning that the people don't know what is going on, we can bring that information to ECZ. But it makes me wonder. I'm aware that some churches, including my own church, not everyone, but some bishops in our church, have asked people to go and register to vote. It doesn't need to be ECZ personally going into these wards and everywhere.
They play a major role in sensitization.
Yes, but do they even have the capacity to be everywhere? It's not possible. It's not possible. Even in our churches, the bishop doesn't come to every small Christian community to tell us it will be Mission Sunday, you need to have an extra collection. The bishop doesn't come. We know every year that this Sunday is designated as Mission Sunday, and there should be a second collection. So it's the responsibility of our parish or our center to remind the people next week or this month we're going to have Mission Sunday, and to remind the people. Now, if we as Zambians are going to think that ECZ should go in every ward, in fact, the time they may spend and the resources would actually turn out to be undermining the actual exercise. Elections are coming next year. As parents, what are we doing to encourage the children in our household to go and register? Radio station, radios, TV stations, social media. If Frank Bwalya caused a scandal, every Zambian would know. If I said something or I mispronounce a word on this program, and then you check social media, within 15 minutes, even those in the diaspora would know that instead of using this word, Frank used this word. Instead of trying to say this in Bemba, Frank mispronounced the word to mean an insult. Within a few minutes, people would know. Why are we not knowing within a few minutes that ECZ is registering people to vote? That's what one of the priests, some missionary priest, Sunday, having been mission Sunday, one of the missionary priests used to say, and Father Gevas Mukuka, one of the holiest people I've lived with when I was a priest, used to say, muntu afwele bwino tabakopa. Muntu afwele bwino tabakopa. Muntu aendele bwamba parya penefyeno kukopa bakopa. Meaning that when you dress nicely, no one wants to take a photo of you, no one wants to talk about it. But once something is offline, maybe you are wearing shoes that are termed by some people who pay too much attention to these things to be the wrong color and so on, then everyone is talking about it. So we have capacity to spread falsehood, we have capacity to spread malicious stories, but we have no capacity to spread progressive announcements such as registration of voters. And what role a political party is playing. And if these political parties are claiming that they have got structures, they have their people everywhere, they are winning the election next year, what are they doing? I'm not defending ECZ. That's why I said, if ECZ is not doing enough, we need to engage ECZ, not UPND, because that's not our process. We are just a participant.
Okay. All right, Mr. Bwalya, we end the program here.
Pleasure. I can say that this will be a memorable first interview.
Thank you so much. We end the program here. I've been hosting Mr. Frank Bwalya, who is actually a UPND member. And of course, in case you don't know, he is part of the Presidential Support System, Media Director. My name is Ruben Mwanza. Bye for now.